Are you okay? I mean, really, not just not just a casual question, but are you really okay? I'm asking because there's so much going on in the world right now that's not okay, that's chaotic, that's stressful. In my family, there's been hospitalizations, ER visits, virus, missing work, um, difficulties, family conflicts. And and that's just inside my little my little family. But you add all that onto all the things that's happening in the world, and it's really easy to feel not okay. And I want to talk to you about this today. I'm Kristen Van Tilburg. My specialty is looking at the intersection between how we use our awareness and our aging default, the default that keeps us getting older and older, no matter how many trips we make around the sun. And the fact that while it's true that trips around the sun do impact our biology, there's maybe no getting around that, but so much of what we think is normal aging is actually the result of how we use our brains. And so my job for myself is to find ways to use my brain better. And that's what I want to share with you today. I've made some new discoveries lately that I think will be very interesting to you. The question to ask, I think, for me anyway, the question is, how can I feel okay despite all that's going on in my close vicinity and in the world today? How can I feel okay? How can I feel good? So, one of the things that I noticed was that over the Christmas holidays, I was eating a lot of sugary treats, and I love that stuff. I mean, that's just honest. Christmas in my family was always about cookies and special food and eating a lot and just blowing the lid off, being reasonable and eat something you'll feel better. So any kind of holiday stress would be responded to like eat something you'll feel better. So in my put together, the holidays are kind of a time for forgetting about any kind of reasonable food eating and just eating all the junk that you want. And I was doing that. And what I noticed was that my body really started to complain. I was having aches and pains and they were some of them. I had a pain in the shoulder that was, gosh, some days it was really bad. And after I would get up and move around for a while, it would get better. But when I woke up, it was sore. And I was living with this. And I finally started to look into what could be causing those aches and pains. And I started learning more about inflammation than I've ever known before. And this is something that I think you'll be interested in too, because you may not realize what a close correlation there is between the aches and pains that you're experiencing, and you're calling it in your own mind. You might be saying, well, this is normal, I'm getting old. But the fact that actually things that you are eating, things that you regard as a treat, I mean, that's how it is for me. Candy is a treat, and cookies, homemade cookies is a treat, and Christmas cake and Christmas pie, those are treats. And so this idea that I'm going to give myself these treats and happy memories of my mom made these things for me when I was a child, and happy, all of that connection and the treat thing. But then I started to connect it up with this idea that these treats were making me feel bad. I started wondering, well, where's the where's the treat in that? And so, come January 5th, I took the rest of the holiday and had what I wanted. But come January 5th, I decided to implement a new lifestyle. And I did that with the full awareness that there would be times that I would still want a quote unquote treat, and that would be okay, that I would not use that as an excuse to give up my focus on this lifestyle. So here it is about a month later, and wow, the difference in my physical body, the brain fog is gone, a lot of these aches, not all of them, but the shoulder pain this morning, there was no shoulder pain at all. And I was thinking, wow, who knew? Who knew that I was treating myself into having a body that was really not pleasant to live in? So I wanted to talk more about all the research I've done and what I've learned about that because you may find that this is happening to you too. Let me catch up with my notes. So let's talk more about your gut. Lovely topic. The microbiome. So our intestines are full of bacteria. I mean, trillions of them. And some of these bacteria and virus and fungi, and I mean, it's a lot, and I don't want to overcomplicate this conversation. So I'm going to make some kind of blanket statements that are generally true, but not, it's actually more complicated than I'm going to go into, but just to keep this video at a manageable length, there's microbiome, there's bacteria in our gut that leads to us helping us feel good, and then there's bacteria in the gut that makes us feel worse. And there's a mechanism involving what's called the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve starts in the back of the head, comes around down your neck, comes down through the center of your body, and it ends up down in your intestines. And so it's very long. The researcher that I was studying, this Dr. Kevin Tracy, he says that the thing that we call the vagus nerve, like it's one thing, is actually 200,000 fibers. 100,000 of them activate the sympathetic nervous system, and the other 100,000 activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, we need both of them, parasympathetic and sympathetic. The sympathetic one is the one that responds to threat. When we are in some kind of danger, the vagus nerve for the sympathetic will fire off and it activates this whole chemical process called fight or flight or flee, run away. And what that does is it takes a lot of the blood volume out of your brain and puts it down in your arms and legs so that if you need to run away from a saber-toothed tiger or you need to flee, then you will have the blood where you need it in order to run fast and get away. And a lot of what we do, even though we're not typically chased by tigers, but a lot of what we do is having to do with running away in one shape or another. But it can also cause like a paralysis, a freeze. There are some terrors that are so scary that we just can't even move. So there's running away, and then there's fighting. Sometimes we have to go to battle. And the same mechanism that sends all this blood into the lower part of our body also triggers the part of the brain that will, defend ourselves and fight to survive. So all these mechanisms, they trigger certain hormones. One of them is called cortisol. This gets in the news a lot. You may be familiar with it, and it causes your heart rate to speed up, and it causes your muscles to twitch, and it makes you feel ready to do these things that I was just describing. So it's like getting ready for battle. And then the parasympathetic nervous system, on the other hand, is this nervous system that's engaged when the battle is over and it's time to go back to feeling good. So if you have a dog like I do, the dog will get up and she'll just shake herself off. Well, this is a dog's way of activating the parasympathetic nervous system. It shakes off the stress, and then the parasympathetic nervous system starts to function again. And that's good. It creates growth hormone and it creates oxytocin, which is the connecting hormone. And it soothes the body. The blood pressure drops and the heart rate slows down. And so the sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that we want to run most of our lives. You want to spend most of your day in parasympathetic, and only if there's an extreme need do you want to get triggered into the sympathetic. So if you have to fight or flight, it's good that we have that mechanism. There's nothing wrong with it. But our problem, like I already said, is that most of us are living in the sympathetic nervous system, and this causes inflammation. And inflammation is the source of most of the chronic disease, heart disease, vascular disease, diabetes, and many others, many, many others. Rheumatoid arthritis. This was something that Dr. Tracy was talking about. He's invented a device which was just recently approved by the FDA, which is implanted in the vagus nerve up here in your neck, and it causes the parasympathetic nervous system to fire off for 60 seconds once a day. And you would think, wow, that's not very much. And that's encouraging, really, because they have found substantial relief in people that have rheumatoid arthritis from just this little 60-second burst that activates the parasympathetic nervous system once a day. Well, the good news is that we can activate that parasympathetic nervous system on our own with things like meditation and prayer and breathing in certain organized patterns where you inhale for a certain number of counts, hold, then exhale for a certain number of counts and hold. And all of that tells the body you don't need to run, you don't need to fight, there's nothing to be afraid of. You can just breathe in this nice connected rhythm. So, this is how we stimulate this vagus nerve to tell our bodies that everything is okay. And the more that you live in that condition of everything is okay, the less inflamed your body is. The less inflamed your body is, the less disease process is activated in your body, and the more that you feel good. Now, also, once you sort of get used to making this shift, there's even more that you can do to make the feel good part feel even better. And we're going to talk about that another day. Let me see now if I've covered all my notes. So what I wanted to do was teach you this little 3-minute practice that I am starting to do. And if you think maybe this has some merit, you might want to join me and just see for yourself. You know, my job is only to bring these ideas to you, and I want you to take the best and leave the rest. If something doesn't fit for you, for your worldview or your lifestyle, just let that part go. But I mean, this is amazing, really, how many things is adding up that twice a week now for a good 6 months, I have been bringing you these practices that can help you. Even though I didn't even know what I was doing at the start, all of these practices engage the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is why I've been sharing them with you and why they're effective at working. So this 3-minute practice, when you feel the stress kick in, well, I don't have the rest of it here. Damn. Stress response. Let's have this turned upside down. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Forgive me. Um, put your hands on your lower abdomen, and then we want to feel the warmth, the presence of your own body warmth, and just allow that to help you to calm down. Feel your own warmth. Then take 3 inhales, one at a time. And then when you exhale, just let the exhale last a little longer than the inhale. Empty out your lungs and even kind of squeeze them down a little bit, and then take a big inhale and then a longer exhale. Then one more quick inhale, and then a slow exhale. Now, what I like to say when I finish that third exhale is, I can choose peace instead of this. And I recommend that statement. I find it very, very soothing. No matter what is going on, no matter what I'm facing, I can choose to feel peaceful in this moment. I've taken 3 breaths. There's no immediate cause of danger. I'm safe right here and now. I can choose peace in this moment. So just focus on that for a few moments. I can choose peace instead of this. Or if you really don't like that line, find one that works for you. I can choose peace instead of this. And after you've repeated that a couple times, just notice, how are you feeling now? And if you're a little settled down, but you still feel overstimulated, just start with the breath again. Quicker inhale, slower exhale, 3 times, and then repeat, I can choose peace instead of this, or a phrase that works for you. So here's where I am with all this. I've made substantial changes to my food choices. That doesn't mean I never have a piece of candy, but it's rare now. And I don't have the thought anymore that I'm treating myself. I'm actually thinking to myself, do I really want this? Is the price my body might pay for this worth it? And if I really want to have a piece of candy, it's not the end of the world. But mostly I just notice I don't even care about that. It's nothing like the habit I had of eating candy off and on all day. And then I have my own meditation practices and prayer practices, and you might want to explore those things if you don't have those practices already in your life. Because, like I said, if you don't find ways to stimulate the parasympathetic, the chaotic way that we live our lives will ensure that this aging default is going to be operating, that you're going to be in that horrible loop of stress in the gut, makes stress in the brain, makes stress in the gut, makes stress in the brain, and you just end up living in this anxious, upset, nervous, worried, frustrated, angry, resentful, bitter, all those emotions that don't feel good come when you let yourself live in this aging default. So, sabotage the default. That was the title I picked for this episode. Sabotage that default. And by doing that, activate this parasympathetic nervous system where all the feel good, the love, the joy, the peace, the patience, the kindness, the gentleness, the self-control, all of that comes when the parasympathetic nervous system has control of the show. So give it a try. Let me know in the comments below if this is working for you, how it's working for you. If it's not working for you, let me know that too, and maybe I can help. So I'll see you again next time. Thank you so much for joining me today.